Colleen is not here in person, so
I know, she's,
she
yeah.
wanted to make sure to remind you that we have Finance Committee first.
Yes. No. I remembered from yesterday. Okay, if we can begin, please. Okay. Good morning, everyone. I believe we are to begin with a Finance Committee meeting, so please take over.
Okay, we'll call the Finance Committee meeting to order. We have one action item, and that is to approve the Finance Committee meeting minutes from June 22.
Move approval?
Second.
All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries, and that will adjourn our meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's move on to the JWB meeting. Mr. Butler, could you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Moving on to the consent items. Do I have any comments or concerns? And if not, do I have a motion to approve?
So
Motion.
move.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Consent items are approved. Moving on to action items. Approved community council appointments. Kelly Roy, could you please lead us in that?
Good morning. My name is Kelly Roy, and I'm the Community Engagement Advocate for South County. I'm here to present to the board Ms. Valerie Gervais for your approval to join our South County Community Council. Ms. Valerie Gervais' heart is in South County. She was born and raised in Childs Park. She graduated in 2022 from Boca Ciega High School. She has her associates in education and a bachelor's in human services. She has been working in early childhood for the last 18 years. Currently, she works for Learning Empowered as the Center Director at Children of the World, preschool. Ms. Gervais is a single mom who is balanced working full-time and having her children full-time. She hopes her challenges motivate her children. Ms. Gervais states if you tell a child they can enough times, then it will start to believe that they truly can. It does not matter where your journey started. You can always change where it will end. Thank you for your consideration.
Do we have any other comments? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve? I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Those opposed, same sign. Congratulations, Ms. Gervais, and we welcome you to the Community Council.
Hello, everyone.
There you are. Would you like to say anything? I'm right here. Good morning. Would you like to make a comment, or you've been approved already, so you can just decide to do one or the other?
And I can only be me, that's it.
Okay. Okay, moving on to action item B. Approved proposal of millage rates and preliminary FY24 budget. Laura?
Good morning. Laura Kruger-Brock, Chief Financial Officer. As required by Florida statutes, the board must provide the proposed millage rate, the rolled back rate, and the date and time and place at which JWB's public hearing will be held to consider the millage rate and the tentative budget. And we need to provide that information to the property appraiser's office by August 1st. And so today's meeting will accomplish meeting that requirement. On July 1st, 2023, the property appraiser provided certified taxable values. We were waiting for those when we had our last discussions. And it reflected an 11.76% increase over the certified taxable values from the prior year. It's fairly close to what we had estimated, which was 11.77%. I'm not quite sure why we were so close on that number, but we were playing around with those amounts. The Staff is recommending the board to adopt a proposed millage rate of 0.8250, which is about a 7.5% increase from the prior year. I'm sorry, from the rollback rate. And this would be a 3.03% increase, reduction from the prior year. So we're looking at reducing the millage rate that we had provided a year ago. Attached to your memo, you've also got the certification forms that we have to provide, and a lot of that information comes to us from the property appraiser's office, filled in with very much information. But what it does is it does the calculations for us on what the rolled back rate amount would be, and also what the maximum rolled back amounts would be. So having said that, it kind of just points us into a couple little things that we need to be cognizant of, which has to do with the majority votes and whether or not we'll make sure that we have proper attendance to be able to have these majority votes at the trim hearing meetings. The staff is also recommending the attached fiscal '24 budget, which totals about $158 million, and we're utilizing the 0.8250 millage rate in those calculations. The Finance Committee has reviewed this in detail and has recommended this as well, as you just approved those minutes. The total revenue increase by utilizing the 0.250 would generate about a $12.4 million increase in revenues over the prior year. The composition of those revenues include about $7.5 million from the property values. We're estimating about a $2.5 million increase in our beginning fund balance, which are funds that are available for us to utilize. And then the other revenues would be about a $2.3 million increase in interest earnings. And we've talked about that in previous months, that we've been generating quite a bit with the rates of return that are currently being offered. On the expense side, the Children and Families Program expenditures, we're seeing approximately $11.7 million increase over the prior year, and that is composed of a variety of things. Some of it has to do with the COLAs that we are providing to the agencies. We are putting together and proposing a 4.2% blended COLA for the agencies for their allocations. 7% of that would be for operating expenses, and 3% would be for salaries and wages and personnel. And that's coming off the forefront of all the workforce stabilization funds that we've been recently giving to a variety of the agencies. As far as the request for applications for the capital and technology, the non-operating, we have budgeted $2.9 million for that, which was a little lower than what we had anticipated. And if you recall, it's kind of a combination of 2 years, fiscal '23 and fiscal '24, since we did not award anything in fiscal '23, basically because the county, Pinellas County, was awarding very similar grants for different types of capital items. As far as the general government, we're seeing a small increase from the prior year of about $400,000, and this does include 4 FTEs, 4 full-time equivalents that we've budgeted into the fiscal '24 budget. Those positions include 2 in the IT area, 1 for facilities and 1 for the systems as we implement several new systems. We are budgeting for 1 data analyst for the program evaluation. And we've also budgeted a program consultant in the grandparent collaborative area. So those are the areas that we have budgeted for additional staff. We also modified the budget from the last time we spoke because we had received the increases in the rates from the Florida retirement system. And so we did increase the budget for those. The effect on that was about $160,000. Capital outlay, we're actually budgeting a decrease from the prior year, and that's because we're pretty much done with the 211 renovations. 211 has left the building effective May 1st. We have now taken over that space, and we're renovating that so we can utilize that for a variety of offices and other functions. In the non-administration area, we're seeing about a $575,000 increase from the prior year. And that's just to absorb different statutory fees and procurements, as well as the implementation of the new software. So attached to your memo, you've got a lot of information. You've got the proposed fiscal '24 budget, and you also have the forecast that we've put together indicating the 0.8250 and how that would project out in the forecast. I realize that you are approving the millage rate for fiscal '24, but it's nice to see what the forecast would be going forward, especially in light of the fact that we've had a variety of discussions relative to lapse and fund balance reserves. I know that the staff is diligently working on ways that we can evaluate the programs and whether or not they're effective, whether they're spending their money, and we've had discussions about that at the Finance Committee as well. But the forecast helps better understand where we think we're going with that and targeting where we would be relative to the reserves at the end of the 5 years out. So we are, again, recommending that we propose a millage rate of 0.8250 as well as the fiscal '24 budget. And I'll open it to questions.
Do I have any comments or questions from the board?
I'd just like to comment that the reason there aren't too many lights going on is that we have been discussing this for months. We've been briefed, we've been discussing it, so I just want to make sure that it's in the record that we are fully versed and informed and have been months in discussions. And so, again, I just wanted to comment, I think, my reason for not too many lights on.
Thank you, Susan. Any other comments or questions?
Yeah, I just want to thank staff for the look at the unassigned fund balance and trying to continue to push that down. And thank you, Laura, for showing that projection over 5 years. And it is decreasing 15% from this past year, which is good, right? We want to get the money out. And so that's a great look. And thanks for the staff putting that together.
Any other? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve?
So move.
Have a motion?
Second.
I have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
As opposed, same sign. Motion's approved. Thank you, Laura. All right, moving on to approval, continuation, and expansion of the contract for food support for children and families with the St. Pete Free Clinic. Danielle?
Good morning, Danielle Hintz, Community Collaborations Manager here at JWB, and I'm here today to ask you to approve the continuation and expansion of the contract for food support for children and families with the St. Petersburg Free Clinic. We agreed to come back to the board before the 2-year agreement was up to assess if the funding is still needed, and I would assert that yes, it is most definitely needed, and it's definitely the case. Food insecurity has increased in our community for families and has not shown any signs of slowing down with the increased cost of almost everything in our county. The board's strategic plan for 21 through 25 fiscal years includes serving as the backbone for the Childhood Hunger Initiative, which is something within my unit, driving coordination among critical partners to align and maximize resources. And while the COVID public health emergency has been declared as ended, Pinellas County's local food banks have really continued to see the need and have served at least twice as many individuals requesting food. And locally, and I think we've seen this locally, 2 out of 5 families live below the ALICE threshold. And we also have 1 in 5 children that are at risk of being food insecure. And given the current economy, including major increases in housing costs, coupled with wages not keeping up with inflation, Pinellas County families are, of course, continually challenged. Starting October 1st, we are recommending a purchase waiver to continue the agreement for the St. Petersburg Free Clinic for the food support for children and families, and moving some existing funds for shelf-stable meals and milk as a part of this program. This contract really allows for a lot of streamlining for the work, both internally and externally at JWB, and for the food support for families, and moving existing funds to another provider makes it a lot more efficient for staff. And you can see outlined in the memo the number of things that we're trying to coordinate in addition. St. Pete Free Clinic also has a unique capacity to both store and distribute food across the county from the northern end all the way to the south. They service all the large food banks as well as everything in between, from little church pantries to our neighborhood family centers. And they've got great relationships with all the partners, including working really well with us. Let's see, I just want to request that you approve the continuation and expansion for the contract at a cost of $4,165,792. Jennifer Yegley and staff are here from the St. Petersburg Free Clinic to answer any questions you might have, as well as me, of course.
I was just going to add, this thrills our staff, by the way, because there are so many pieces in it. The shelf-stable milk, for instance, that is purchased for all of, if I have it right, all of the organizations that do pack a snack or weekend feeding. And we've been doing that at JWB, and it's not exactly in our wheelhouse. It's to be purchasing quantities of food, warehousing it, and/or getting it to the right people, whereas that's what the Free Clinics Food Bank does all the time. So there are pieces like that, along with GA Foods, similar kind of comment, that should just simplify matters for all of us significantly.
Any comments or questions from the board? Seeing none, do I motion to approve? I have a motion, do I have a second? I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion's approved. Thank you, Danielle.
You're welcome. And I would like to go ahead and cue up our video that we have that will show the work being done by the St. Pete Free Clinic over the past year. And I don't know, April or staff, if you have any comments before we cue that up? Okay, thank you.
All children deserve the opportunity to live, learn, grow, and thrive in homes, schools, and neighborhoods that are supportive and safe. And consistent access to nourishing food is key to their healthy development. Yet 1 in 5 children in Pinellas County do not have enough nutritious food for an active, healthy life. More families than ever, 2 in 5, live below the ALICE threshold, meaning they are employed but struggle to make ends meet. And while housing, utility, and food costs are rising, paychecks are not. Recognizing the extraordinary need, JWB's board invested in bulk food purchases and a centralized hub with the St. Petersburg Free Clinic. In turn, the Free Clinic orchestrates the distribution of food to dozens of partner sites, feeding children and families county-wide.
While the pandemic saw historic numbers of families seeking food assistance, families' need for nutritious food is only increasing. Last year, through JWB's leading support, we were able to distribute over 20 million pounds of food throughout Pinellas County, serving 1.2 million individuals in 2022 alone. We do this through partner food pantries, other nonprofit organizations, churches, neighborhood family centers, and even child care centers.
On average, the Free Clinic serves more than 135,000 individuals a month across Pinellas County, a 51% increase year over year. This is achieved thanks to dozens of food partners across the county, like Dunedin Cares.
The importance of the partnership for us is that we feed close to about 1,500 individuals per week, and without picking up the close to 2,000 pounds of food per week every Monday from the St. Pete Free Clinic, thanks to the JWB, we would not be able to feed those families at all. As you can see, our operation here is literally made up of all of that food coming in, the produce, the meat. We're able to take care of being able to serve them healthy food, being able to give them actual fresh items. The need in the last month has gone up probably about 42% due to food stamps no longer having the extra funding that they had for COVID. They do not have that anymore. And now that funding was taken away, our increase is exponential.
Nowadays, people don't understand that being a single dad, it could be rough on you doing everything for your family and trying to get through. So having pantries like this around, it helps. I've worked at Walmart for 4 years and I've seen the prices go up tremendously. Just the little groceries you buy sometimes could cost up to 50, 60 bucks. Got a blessing to get a full car of groceries that is a stress off of my back today, so I couldn't be thankful anymore.
Another North County partner, Feast, serves families 5 days a week, including evening hours for working families.
The need here is greater than ever. It's the highest number of clients that we've ever seen. Each month's record seems to break the months before. The last month's record was 5,000 people served here, and there's no way we could have provided them the food that we did without the help from St. Pete Free Clinic. Right now, St. Pete Free Clinic provides us about 50% of our funding for food. We are able to give fresh produce and milk and healthy food choices to our clients. We wouldn't be able to provide that at the volume that we do without St. Pete Free Clinic. We love our families here at Feast Food Pantry. We love to do little extra things for the kids. We have birthday cakes when there is a kid's birthday, and we encourage our families to let us know when that happens. One of the things we want to do as well is never make a child feel uncomfortable with their family that they're here, that they're less than or different because their family needs to come to a pantry for food.
The Free Clinic also coordinates JWB's funded food program, distributing pre-packaged meals to kids at schools, NFCs, and after-school programs, and filling food gaps during weekends and summers, to the tune of 200,000 meals last year. Plus, through partnerships with 11 preschools, their Fresh Sprouts program fosters healthy eating habits for young children 0 to 5, offering weekly fresh produce, recipe cards, even interactive activity ideas to promote connection at mealtime for families. The Free Clinic also partners with JWB's neighborhood family centers to stock their pantries and support food distribution efforts, reaching families where they live and serving special populations.
We are so grateful for St. Pete Free Clinic. We realized a while ago that many of the deaf and hard of hearing community members were going to different food pantries but could not communicate with the folks working there. So we decided to reach out and have a conversation with St. Pete Free Clinic, which then allowed us to set up this once-a-month experience where the deaf and hard of hearing community can come out and they know for sure that we will be here to communicate with them in their language, which has been a huge asset for many of them. So we are so grateful for that opportunity. One thing we've noticed month on month is that so many of our families who are coming out are often coming out, and when they get here, they're asking if they could actually pick up enough food for 3 to 5 families. We're able to help them, and we can load up their car with enough food so that when they go back to their home or their neighborhood, they're able to share that food with those around them. Because it's not about just serving that one family anymore, it's really about serving that community.
Thanks to JWB's investments in the St. Petersburg Free Clinic, Pinellas families can put healthy, nutritious food on their tables and take at least one worry off their plates.
We would not be able to keep families and children healthy and whole without the critical support of JWB.
Thank you. Okay, then moving on to item D, approve additional advance to Safety Harbor Neighborhood Family Center, Maddie Williams Neighborhood Family Center. Laura?
Good morning. Yes, thank you. And on that video, I don't know if you noticed, but Maddie Williams was profiled on there as one of the neighborhood family centers who participates in the food pantries, which is wonderful. The board policy allows for advances to be provided to our funded agencies up to an amount of 25% of their annual allocation. And the Maddie Williams Neighborhood Family Center had received an allocation back in 2019, or rather an advance back in 2019 for their allocation at the time of 2018. And over the years, cash flow needs and so forth have required, or they've requested that we would increase that advance. So the board policy was modified and changed about 6 months ago. I think the board voted on that. And Maddie Williams has come forward with that request. And we have Janet Hooper here in the room with us today. So the request is to increase their advance by $59,791.70, which would bring them up to 25% of their fiscal 23 allocation. And that falls within the policy. But because it's over $50,000, we have to come to the board, and it doesn't require just Beth's approval. So there's nothing that we see a problem with this. Janet has continued with the leadership, even though she has semi-retired, but she's still serving as interim executive director there. So it's consistent with board policy. Beth could not approve it because it exceeded the dollar amount, so we're here today to seek your approval for the increase in the advance for that agency.
Okay. I understand Janet would like to speak before we take the vote. Oh.
She never shies away from a microphone.
First, it's I did retire last July, believe it or not, and so I really am the interim. But it's really nice to see all you people here. It's just like old home week for me. But Maddie Williams, over the years, has gotten increases of funding from JWB, and we've been able to cover it. The last couple years, because of the really big increases of insurance, this past year is $50,000 of insurance costs for our center. Our property insurance doubled. So we fronted that money, and we're in the midst of trying to build an expansion. So this has really put us at a hardship not having the full 25%. So I do hope that you will approve it. And my other comments are, of course, St. Pete Free Clinic does provide food to us. Right now, today, we're serving about 170 families a week. That includes 500 children we average every week that we're giving food to. So we're very appreciative of that JWB is continuing that partnership. But I do urge you to approve the advance because right now we're struggling a little bit. We had to put in an extra $20,000 last month to meet payroll. Thank you.
Do I have any comments or questions from the board? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve?
Second.
I have a motion and second. All in favor, say aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion's approved. Once again, Janet, you've been able to do what you've always done in the past, is to get what you need.
We always thought we were a subsidiary of Publix too, but thank you very much. I appreciate your support.
Okay, let's move on to the presentations. The Fatherhood Collaborative, Danielle.
Okay, good morning again. I'm here to provide an update also about the Pinellas Fatherhood Collaborative and the work we've been doing over the past 8 months. We've had 2 consulting contracts, one with the National Fatherhood Initiative and the other with Legacy Enterprise Group, which focused on agency assessments, strategic brainstorming sessions, and some future recommendations. So we've been doing a lot of work around this. With me today is Mr. Kenneth Scarborough. He is the principal consultant with Legacy Enterprises LLC, and he's going to provide a presentation on the process that we went through and the resulting recommendations. He has a master's in public health, health services administration, as well as a master's in divinity and youth and family ministry. He brings over 35 years of experience in executive leadership roles of various types in government, nonprofit, and also the private sector, including over 11 years in the Tampa Bay area specifically. He has over 40 years of experience in working with boys and men, and he has served as a consultant since 2006 and currently holds a 5-year contract with the National Healthy Start Coalition through DC, and is extremely experienced in the area and knowledgeable in the area of fatherhood. We're very fortunate to have his expertise and experience and have done a great deal of work together, both with myself and my team and also our collaborative and our steering committee. And I want him to talk about the work that's been done, what we've learned, and overall recommendations that we had for consideration. And following his presentation, I will share the plan next steps moving forward. So, Mr. Scarborough?
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
And thank you very much, Danielle. Thank you also to the executive team for this opportunity to focus on fathers, and then for you, the board, today to be able to hear some of the findings from the report that we were able to provide together. So our slideshow. There we go. So this is our outline for our presentation this morning. We had introductions, the work of the consultant. We will look at the collaborative collective impact differences, and then some recommendations. So this is the report, the final report outline, and what is entailed in the final report. And so there's an executive summary in the report, and what we did is provided for you this morning sort of an overview of some of the collaborative findings from the report. And those reports are available to you. Our project team included not only the Legacy Enterprise Group, the National Fatherhood Initiative, Juvenile Welfare Board team, as well as the Pinellas County Fatherhood Collaborative and its leadership. So this is the process in terms of what we did moving through this over the last 8 months. We started with some guiding principles around my being able to participate in some of the meetings, some of the activities and events that were going on, to be able to provide technical assistance along the way to make sure that there are some things happening that I can provide some insight as we went along. For me to do some assessments, not only of the data and the materials, but actually assessing and looking at the reports being done by National Fatherhood Initiative, as well as some of the leadership work, and then be able to review some of the documentation, the information, how it's presented from JWB, also from that fatherhood website that you all have. Some of the assumptions made that there is absolutely a need for some attention to fatherhood in this community, where there's more than 7,500 babies being born on an average basis, that even half of those are born to unwed moms, but at least 87% of the father's names are on those birth certificates, which is very interesting because he is engaged and involved at some level, and so we need to give attention to that. We also know that it's beneficial for the partners to work together as it relates to fatherhood and a common goal around that. And then the importance of making sure that the JWB support is in place. Consultation, we talked about that. The collaborative itself, there are 60 members or more who are participating as part of the collaborative. 50% of those are highly engaged, 30% of those are moderately engaged. It also represents a steering committee of 9 partners, so they are the ones who are vesting their information and content around what happens with the collaborative. So that shows us that there's good community support, and then there are 2 subcommittees, so they're not overworking themselves with those volunteers. And then the backbone, again, there was a 2-person team that were providing a lot of support for this collaborative. And so please make sure you put a pin in that. 2 folks who are trying to work with 60 organizations throughout the community, along with the other collaboratives that they have going on here at JWB. Next, please. Now, as it relates to our findings, we're going to break that down into 3 areas. First of all, the collaborative itself. Again, we talked about the 60 community partners that are in place with the collaborative. There's The way the collaborative is set up with 2 co-chairs, which is really exciting to be able to see that. Not only the 2 co-chairs, but the steering committee with the 9 different other organizations that are sitting at the table, and then the two subcommittees that happens around professional development and father engagement. And so those are 2 critical areas that are important as it relates to providing services community-wide here in Pinellas County. So the Father Readiness Network Assessment, this was done by National Fatherhood Initiative. The purpose of this father-friendly assessment was for them, the 60 organizations, to be provided an opportunity for them to look at how they are serving fathers. And so they looked in 4 key areas as it relates to serving fathers. 30 were invited to be able to participate in the assessment. 28 participated, and 41 persons represented those 28 participating organizations. So they were able to look at how they did things operationally, organizationally, their leadership, their community engagement, and the programs and activities that they were providing. What the findings from NFI reports back is that there was great intention around fatherhood, but there's still some work that is needed around engagement. And so in terms of taking ideas and thoughts into action. There's attention to leadership, organization, and program that needs to continue. They have good community engagement, but there's still some work that needed to be done around leadership, the organizational structure, and how the community of fathers view their programs and services. And then the intention of making sure that larger sites are helping those smaller sites. And a big part of that is their capacity as larger organizations to be able to deliver some of the services to fathers that the smaller sites are unable to do. Next was that of the father engagement experience. This was where 20 organizations were invited to come together to be able to have some strategic thinking around what it really means to serve as a collaborative and how to get that done. And so 20 were invited, 14 came and was represented at this 2-day session, representing 17 different persons. These are the 4 target areas or questions that were asked as part of this father engagement experience. The first question was around supporting fathers and what does it really take to support fathers. The second one was how do we as organizations, as partners, work together collaboratively around fathers. The third was the element of backbone, what it really takes to be a backbone organization, which was really critical for JWB, which is currently serving sort of as the backbone. And then the fourth one was ways to fund fatherhood work going forward. And so all of those questions were raised, and there were ample time for all of the organizations who were present to be able to provide feedback to that. And then they came up with 8 sort of ideas or action steps, thoughts around moving forward. And a key part of those were education and support, broadening connections, explore additional funding opportunities, and the levels of trainings that were needed both for the fathers themselves and for the organizations that were providing those services. And so now I want to talk a little bit about collaborative versus collective impact, because oftentimes we throw out the word collective impact and what that really is. And oftentimes what we're doing is more of collaborative work as opposed to collective impact. And so I want to give you a couple of definitions, and I want to just focus on sort of 2 words for each of those. When we're looking at a collaborative is more of a joint effort towards a goal. And so a bunch of people come to the table and talk about, yes, we want to do this, we want to do something around fathers, right? And so each of them come in and go out at the level that is beneficial for them. And so theirs isn't necessarily, when we think about collective impact, a commitment to a long-term systematic change. That's what happens with collective impact. So with collective impact, there are 5 key elements around collective impact. The first is that of a common goal or a common agenda, that everyone at the table has agreed that this is the agenda item that we're going to focus on, right? It's one thing that we're going to focus on. The second thing is there's the shared measurements, and oftentimes it's difficult to get different organizations to agree on what are those things we're going to measure. And through collective impact, that's exactly what happens, that we agree that we're going to measure these things as part of our work. The third thing is that of mutually reinforcing activities. So all the organizations are going to be on board with these specific activities that are going to happen in order to achieve a common agenda item and the things that we're going to be measuring. Fourth is continuous communication. So there's constantly someone who is talking and communicating and sharing and providing information about this agenda item, about these activities, around these measurements. And then finally, there's backbone support. And typically this is a team who is totally focused on this agenda item and this work that we're doing as a collective impact. That's the distinction or that's the information, that's the definition of collective impact versus a collaborative work. So just a couple of distinctions that we want to talk about here. Collaboration involves groups of people or organizations who interact using shared normal rules and structures to achieve a goal. Although collaborators have common interests, they also have self-interests. When we're looking at collective impact, there's a specific type of collaboration that involves individuals from many organizations working together towards one social issue, but they are more effective in terms of large-scale interventions happening across the entire county. And so the individual part of this goes away, that there is a systematic change that everyone wants to be a part of and everyone is involved in making sure that happens. So hopefully that makes clear in terms of collaborative versus collective impact. And this is real important as it comes to the next section when we talk about recommendations. So when I was first asked to do this, it was really looking at JWB as it relates to it being a backbone organization and whether or not we're able to move kind of towards collective impact. And so from that charge, my first recommendation was to move the collaborative to the collective impact, because I see that there's a huge need to really focus on fatherhood work in Pinellas County. And by doing that, you could be the model for the state of Florida and all the southern states, because there are very few of these happening across the nation. The second recommendation was to expand the network in terms of those persons who are sitting at the table. 91% of those who are currently sitting at the table are currently funded by JWB. And so it poses the question whether they're sitting there because they're funded or if they're sitting there because of fatherhood, and that needs to be teased out a little bit more. But there's definitely a commitment by the collaborative members as it relates to attention to fatherhood. And then the third recommendation is a decision on backbone, who then serves as the backbone. So those three were my top 3 recommendations going forward. But as I moved through and started reviewing and looking at what was really happening, that there's an area of opportunity really to shore up the collaborative here in Pinellas County. There are limitations simply because most of the members are also doing other things at their jobs, right? So the attention to it and to really be able to strategically think is limiting because of all the other work that they have to do. And so there are some things that really needs to be done around the collaborative itself to really make it solid before you can kind of move from a collaborative to a collective impact. And so the next is going to be some immediate recommendations that Danielle will come up and talk about. And I think these things need to be in place before we look at moving towards that priority of collaborative to collective.
Thank you. Okay, so we've gotten a lot of information. We have a full report. We've worked together over time. And while we were originally thinking about collective impact, as was mentioned, what we really looked at when we met with the executive team and looked at capacity and looked at like what we're able to do and do well within the scope of work that JWB typically does, we really are looking at the collective being well beyond what we could do, kind of like the Health and Human Services Coordinating Council or something of that nature. If you're going to include workforce and reentry from prison and other things in something that would serve fathers, that's a much larger piece with a lot of other sectors. The one pager that you have in front of you describes some of the highlights of the work done and also some of the recommendations. So first, we really need to build a team that can dedicate time to the collaborative. And this would include a new position that was mentioned earlier, but this work, that position would focus primarily or have at least a strong focus on fatherhood, starting in fiscal year 24, along with working with our existing team. I think was mentioned we have a small unit, and while I'm involved, it's having someone that can focus on this work would be really important. And continuing to move forward, there's a number of things we want to do to move forward with also maybe some help from a consultant, and also definitely working with our steering committee and our partners and making sure that we're bringing everyone in and working together. In addition, secondly, we need to really assess the status of the collaborative. We've been looking at that, and we know that we really need to understand throughout Pinellas County who we're missing at the table within even the social service and the fatherhood serving network. So right now, when this was put together several years ago, there was some interest among our funded partners to try to work on some things together. Now we're looking at like who's missing, and I'm running into people who will read about the collaborative or will reach out to me, and we can always engage them. But I think pausing and doing asset mapping and really understanding what we have and what the opportunities are is something that we need to take the time to do. We also want to make sure that we have direction setting. We have some really clear goals. So we had the brainstorming session that was held with National Fatherhood Initiative, and we all participated. And so we've got some key areas that the group decided we wanted to be able to look at further, but we really need to narrow that and actually have an operations, a strategic kind of direction setting with some outcomes that we want to accomplish, as well as some type of operations plan and an organizational structure. This would help us really more engage the members and have them really understand what's expected as we move forward. So we've been meeting and collaborating and supporting the work, but I think there's a need to have some more intention and a need to really make this a stronger collaborative together with our community. And finally, as mentioned, we want to really look at how we do better communication and use the webpage that we have. We've got some great resources on there, but making sure that we can use that to get information out, make sure that training and other resources are available, and make sure too that the continuous communication piece of bringing new partners in, being able to keep our partners engaged and informed, look for opportunities that are out there requires some definite attention and some intentionality together. We also want to look at how we want to improve our ongoing communication strategies within the group and make sure that we're doing a good job keeping everyone connected. And we really believe by working in this direction, starting with our social service provider network and expanding beyond and having a total plan, that then will be a right place to think about, potentially in the future what this would look like with our other large-scale partners. And I think, as we all know, there have been dollars available at the state level, not always as easy to access as, or the time around it to be able to access those dollars and work together, but with intentionality and being able to really inform our partners of what's available, we think that we can do some more with looking at what other resources. And I think that kind of concludes what I wanted to say to you about immediate recommendations. We thank you for your attention, but we also want to open it to any questions that you might have.
Are there any comments or questions from the board?
I got one question, I think, Mr. Scarborough. You talked about in the very beginning about 7,500 children, and what is that a one-time snapshot of a geographical area, or is that, what's the geographical boundaries of that number?
That's the whole of Pinellas County, so we pulled that off the Florida Department of Health's website in terms of number of babies being born. 7,500 average, yes. Over the last, birth.
Any other comments or questions?
So the work being done is outstanding. I'd like to congratulate you. It's an issue that we've been talking about for a lot of years, and it's really exciting to see it come to us today in a structured form with a plan. So I thank you.
Welcome. Thank you.
I wanted to just add to that I think that the work that's being done is extremely beneficial and hopefully will expand and grow. I struggle, though, to be honest with you, between the collective and the collaborative, because I don't see how you, I struggle with the fact of how you don't have self-interest in one versus the other. You wouldn't get anybody there if you didn't have some self-interest in it. So
Right.
that's immaterial to the discussion. The importance is that we're doing something and that you're beginning to really, hopefully focus in, and hopefully we can engage more people to understand, because the unfortunate part is, in many cases, fatherhood is very either misunderstood or not utilized the way it should be, and that goes from whether it's a father or families or what it might be. So please continue this great effort, and I thank you for what you've done so far.
Thank you.
Okay, moving
Can
on.
I add,
then.
I should have added
Sure,
at
go
the
ahead.
beginning. I just want to add that Amanda Crumrich with Operation Power, one of our co-chairs of the collaborative, is here and has been working diligently with us in the steering committee as well as the rest of the partners. So we appreciate that as well. It takes time and energy, and a busy person always finds the time and energy, right, Amanda? Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda. Okay, let's then move on to the Chief Executive Officer's report.
Well, first, the legislative session wound up, and we passed July 1st, and we know what appropriations remained, and wanted to lift up just a couple of those that we thought were particularly important. Throughout our history, our special act has guided our funding investments and limitations, ensuring that we're fiscally responsible, transparent, and accountable as JWB. But we are more than a funder. We're also a leader, convener, and connector, and that was evidenced by just this last presentation. And in this role, we help identify and share potential funding opportunities with our providers, other than JWB as a funder, as well as communicating critical needs for children and families to the legislature to raise awareness. So last year, the Sanderlin Neighborhood Family Center identified a capital need. Frankly, I think it had long been identified, but it came to the fore, that extends beyond the scope of JWB's special act. Their building needs to be replaced. We are putting money in every year that arguably is good money after bad, but we don't have an alternative at this point. So in response, because that's beyond JWB's funding, we did provide some education and some technical assistance to their CEO, Dr. Celeste Collins, on the legislative appropriation process, and connected her with Senator Darrell Roussan, who subsequently sponsored an appropriations bill to begin to meet that capital need. So today I'm really pleased to say that Senator Roussan's bill passed, and Sanderlin NFC will be awarded $209,500 that will be the design component towards ultimately the hope of finding then the funding necessary to build a new facility. But you've got to do this step before you can do the next. And then there might be possibilities either of another state appropriation, possibly CDBG funds. There are other sources, and we will support them in doing that. So we're thrilled that that occurred. I mentioned just briefly, I think at the last meeting, but we continue to experience real issues with our two provider data systems for funded agency financial management, which is Amplifund, and participant management, which is Apricot. A small group of JWB staff have worked to evaluate potential options for replacement, and this is after lots of very hard work to try to get the current solutions to do what they need to do for us. And ultimately, that decision was that we need to look at options for replacement. In addition, JWB's process improvement consultant recommended consolidating our data systems, having too many separate data systems added to inefficiencies. So one very promising option is WebAuthor's Flex Enterprise. It is used by all of the CSCs, the Children's Service Councils throughout the state except for Pinellas County and Hillsborough County. It has one system with modules for participant management, grant management, procurement, contracting, contacts, training registration, strategic planning, and more. It doesn't mean that we would use each of those components out of that system, but several of them we certainly could use. So this option would align with the process improvement consultant's recommendations. Plus, we have contacted the other children's service councils to see what their satisfaction is. There are also some United Ways who are using this system, and the satisfaction has been extremely high. So we'll continue our due diligence and hope to come to the board meeting with a proposed solution in September or October. But it is really an important issue, and one where the systems inadequacies are really pushing us behind in doing some of the work that we need to do. In particular, the accountability work on evaluation. Yes, you want to just nod? Yeah, you can see Barbara's head just exploding. But it has truly caused significant difficulties in the evaluators doing the work that they do, which we all count on in evaluating each of our programs and assuring the quality of services provided to the participants is what we want it to be. A group of JWB staff recently attended the 2023 Florida Chamber Foundation's Learners to Earners Workforce Solution Summit in Tampa. According to the foundation, Florida's economy is on track to create 1.5 million new jobs by 2030, but also needs to ensure current and future talent is prepared to fill those positions. The summit engaged Florida's governmental and business leaders, education and workforce advocates, and elected officials around the importance of investing in early learning and closing skills gaps in the workforce. So it's heartwarming to see the Chamber Foundation also keyed in on early learning, as of course we are. Highlights included presentations and panels on promising early learning programs and practices, as well as a legislative update by 3 Florida representatives on progress being made on relevant legislation. So we'll be following that closely. It is fun for me to be able to say that last month, JWB Strategic Communications Director April Puchaloo was presented the Spirit of Community. Yay, there we are. This is an award by the Florida Commission on the Status of Women. April was one of 11 women from across the state celebrated by the commission and the sole recipient from the Tampa Bay region. Several of her colleagues and I had the pleasure of accompanying her to Orlando for the recognition ceremony. So there you see some of us smiling. April was recognized for nearly 4 decades of service to Florida's children and families and for her passion for developing creative prevention programs and campaigns many of which remain in existence today and many of which you have seen here. So for example, her role in the Sleep Baby Safely campaign, which has significantly reduced the number of infant deaths in Pinellas County, was recently recognized as a best practice across the state and is being replicated statewide in a number of counties. Plus, April, as you know, is currently leading JWB's new Birth to 3 Turbo Babies campaign. So April, stand up and at your seat to be recognized and hold up your, if you have your plaque, hold up your plaque. You know, you got, there we go, and a plaque. And I'm also pleased to announce the promotion of Shannon Phillips, wave to the crowd, Shannon, to the Software Application Support Analyst position effective July 10th. Shannon has 18 years of experience working with the JWB IT department, supporting multiple applications and staff. And in her new role, she'll be the primary support trainer and administrator for JWB's provider databases, which we just mentioned, including Amplifund and Apricot. She'll also be the project manager for new software initiatives and the administrator of several other current systems. So please join me again in congratulating Shannon Phillips. Earlier, you enjoyed a video produced by Gail Kellen Christensen, and it is with mixed emotions that I share that Gail has resigned her position here with JWB to move away to start a new chapter in her life. During her 7-year tenure, Gail has produced hundreds of high-impact videos and amassed 5 Telly Awards for JWB's annual report videos. We thank Gail for her years of service, and we wish her all the best and look forward to our paths crossing again. Thank you, Gail. And then some opportunities. As a reminder, our summer book bus is on the road this week and next, making stops across the county to give away free books to kids. You know, you haven't lived until you've given a 2 or 3-year-old, telling them they can take 2 books for themselves. They love it. I was on the bus yesterday. There was a little boy who, he didn't want any book unless it was about dinosaurs. So we went on a search and we found 2 books about dinosaurs. So it's, I never get tired of seeing the smiles on their faces, and it's always good to know that they have a book in hand, and that, you know, hopefully having that book in hand that they picked out means either their parents are reading to them, or they're looking, or even if they're just physically with a book, that's a good start to many years of reading in the future. We've also had some VIPs volunteering this year, and I look forward to recapping with some details and photos of all the folks we've had on the book bus. Also, as a reminder, the R Club and JWB invite you to attend a ribbon-cutting ceremony for Happy Workers Early Learning Academy, and that is on Monday, this coming Monday the 17th, starting at 9 a.m. in St. Pete at 920 19th Street South. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Beth. Moving on to informational items, just one comment at your table. You do have a list of the program and financial monitoring information for your review. Or do I have any questions or any comments on the information items? Yes, Susan.
The only thing I would comment on is I see that the Clearwater Neighborhood Family Center has gone from a performance improvement plan, has been elevated to a corrective action plan. And I would just like to continue to draw attention to that as each month. I know we're not meeting in August, so our next meeting will be September 6th, and we'll assess improvement between now and September 6th. Thank you.
I have the same comment for Arts for Life Academy. As I look at what the issues are, I think we need to ensure that we're spending a lot more time focusing or continuing to focus on the issues that there, and hopefully they'll be fixed soon. Okay.
I did have a question, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I think this is excellent information, and it's good for us to have, obviously, on the front end before any board action is required. Do these organizations know that this is being published to the board, and and is public record and all of that, I think it's important for them to understand, that we're paying attention to it and it's serious, and the time to address the issues is now and not 3, 4, 5 months from now when we're actually here voting on whether we're going to take some kind of action or not.
Yes, let me let Karen address that, but the answer is yes.
Yes, I can answer that. So when an agency goes on a performance improvement plan or a corrective action, we meet with both the executive director or CEO, as well as the board chair or any other board members. And at that point in time, we notify them that it is also reported every month in our monthly board packets.
Any other comments or questions? Seeing none. April, I understand we do have some public comments.
We do. So our first one is Heidi Yu and staff from Basin of Girls in Vanilla.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Heidi Hugh, and I have the pleasure of being the Associate Executive Director of Pace Center for Girls in Pinellas County. With me is Dina Hernandez, our Community Engagement Manager, and we are so pleased to be here today. Thank you so much for allowing us to share time with you this morning. We are here to say a quick thank you for all of JWB's wonderful support for our programs and the girls that we serve in the community. You all support us from recruitment and outreach to transition and retention of girls, academic services, social services, and really everything in between to truly make our girls successful in the program. So thank you so much. We are so grateful for your support. Some of you may know that for the past 2 years, we have hosted a celebratory event in the fall called Celebration of Champions, where we have been really proud to honor community partners who have served and really dedicated their time and talents and treasures to benefiting our girls and our program in Pinellas County. And in the past, we have honored 3 honorees each year, and we are going to do the same this fall. On October 12th, we are going to be hosting our Celebration of Champions Soiree 2023, and this year we are going to be honoring an award for service, for a pace setter, and also for philanthropy. And this year we are really proud to announce that we are going to be honoring JWB as our philanthropy award for all the incredible support that you all do for us each year, and just the outpouring of love and care that you all share to our girls. So I want to make sure that you have this, Beth, and thank you so much for all that you do to really move our girls forward in our community and through our program. So thank you so much. Thank you.
And thank you for all the hard work that you do in support of the girls of our community and and the community in general. April, do we have any others?
So our second is Andrea Vandetti and youth from Hispanic Outreach Center.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Andrea Vendetti. I'm the Senior Program Manager at the Hispanic Outreach Center. I would like to thank the board and JWB for your support throughout all these years and for the opportunity we have today to share with you about our Youth Leadership Program. We started this program many years ago because we wanted to create Hispanic leaders in our community. We wanted to help our families and the students to have the tools so they can pursue secondary education, go to college. And we're just so proud of them for all their achievement and their hardworking parents. And we just had 4 seniors graduating high school with honors, and they were all accepted in major universities, and we're just very proud of them. With me is Sofia Basilio Ventura, who would like to share with you her experience about the program.
Right.
Good morning, esteemed members of the Juvenile Welfare Board, honored guests, dedicated staff of the Hispanic Outreach Center, and fellow community members. My name is Sofia Basilia Ventura, and I'm honored to stand before you today to celebrate the profound impact the Youth Leadership Partnership Program and the valuable support provided by the Hispanic Outreach Center. Before I continue, I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to JWB for their unwavering support and dedication to empowering students like myself through the YLP program. Within this framework of the YLP program, our monthly meetings have become a space of empowerment, motivation, and information sharing. These meetings have proven to be catalysts for our personal and academic growth, providing us with valuable insights into the opportunities that lie ahead. During our gatherings, we have had the privilege of learning about influential Hispanic figures who have excelled in higher education jobs. These figures serve as beacons of inspiration, igniting within us belief in our own potential to pursue and succeed in similar roles. For instance, we have explored the remarkable achievements of trailblazers like Ellen Ochoa, who have shattered barriers as the first Hispanic woman to travel to space. Learning about these roles models have shown us that with dedication, determination, and education, we too can break new ground and contribute to our chosen fields. In addition to highlighting the accomplishments of Hispanic figures, our JWB meetings have also been instrumental in informing us about scholarship opportunities. We have explored scholarships such as Take Stock in Children and Bright Futures, which provide financial support and make higher education more accessible for a student like us. By sharing this vital information, YLP has empowered us to pursue our academic dreams without the burden of financial constraints, ensuring that we have equal opportunities to thrive. Through YLP, we have also been exposed to incredible education offerings of SBC and PATH, to advisors from the University of South Florida, which have been instrumental in our college exploration journey. These advisors have shared their expertise, helping us develop academic plans, navigate the college admission process, and understand the transfer process. Apart from providing us with higher education resources, YLP has also given back to our community by volunteering around the city. For example, we have hosted craft booths at events like downtown Clearwater during Christmas, spread joy, and created memorable experiences for children and families. We have also organized events like car washes at local churches, showcasing our commitment to serving the community and making a positive impact. The support of the Hispanic Outreach Center extends beyond the YLP program. They recognize the importance of digital literacy and have offered technology classes to individuals like my mother. By providing training in software programs like Word, Excel, and others, the Hispanic Outreach Center has bridged the digital divide and equipped individuals with skills that enhance employability and overall digital literacy. Furthermore, the Hispanic Outreach Center has especially been an inspiring and supportive resource for the Hispanic community in these past few months, providing crucial legal information in response to the SB 1718 bill. Today, as we reflect on the incredible impact of the YLP program, the Hispanic Outreach Center's support, and the collective collaboration with SPC, USF PATH advisors, volunteering initiatives, technology classes, Hispanic representation in higher education jobs, scholarships, and legal information, let us express our deepest gratitude to JWB for their unwavering support. This visionary leadership has created a legacy of empowerment and positive change. In conclusion, the Hispanic Outreach Center has been a catalyst for transformation in our community, especially through programs like YLP. The provision of educational resources, guidance, volunteering opportunities, and more has empowered us to pursue our dreams and make a difference. As I prepare for college applications this upcoming school year, the Hispanic Outreach Center has played an essential role in expanding my understandings of institutions like SPC. In the future, I plan to attend SPC for my general education requirements and then transfer to the University of Florida, where I'd like to pursue computer science. Thank you.
it goes without saying that we'd like again to thank the Outreach Center for all the hard work that you do. And it's the presentation to me just proves the fact how impressive the work that's being done and how important it is to the Hispanic community of Pinellas County. So thank you again. April, we have one more.
And one more. Okay, so Julia Sharp and Carrie Fine from Healthy Start Coalition of Pinellas.
All right. Good morning, Ms. Houghton, Mr. Chair, fellow board members, and JWB staff. Thank you for the opportunity to be here today. My name is Julia Sharp. I am here on behalf of Healthy Start Coalition of Pinellas, and our executive director, Mary Jo Plews, couldn't be here today. Unfortunately, she had a prior commitment. But we wanted to express our gratitude for JWB's Community Engagement Manager, Yaya Garcia. Yaya served as a Healthy Start Coalition board member from 2017 to 2022. First and foremost, I'd like to acknowledge Yaya's expertise and advocacy for the voices in our community that often went unheard, ensuring that no one was left behind. This included heightening awareness of the unique needs of our Spanish-speaking neighbors. During the trying times of the pandemic, Yaya went above and beyond, providing a lifeline of connection to vital resources. Her proactive leadership and compassion allowed Healthy Start Coalition to continue supporting expectant and new families just when they needed it the most. Finally, I must also acknowledge the sacrifice that Yaya made by resigning her board position. This act allowed us the opportunity to pursue the Early Childhood Development RFP. She placed the interests of our community first, recognizing the potential impact that it would have for our county's youngest residents, the newborns, the infants, the toddlers. And it's with deep gratitude and heartfelt appreciation that we present Yaya with this plaque for her unwavering commitment to Pinellas County families. We wish you the very best.
Yaya, you're not leaving here. Thank you again. Are there any others? April? That's all. Okay, then let's move on to Mr. Butler, the June anniversaries.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, ma'am. Oh, I'm sorry.
I have one thing under the open agenda I wanted to bring up
Sure.
before we conclude. And that is moving back to, I wanted to bring up the neighborhood family centers. I know that our CEO has a limit of 50,000 that she can sign off on, that the board has set up, which we set up some time ago. But in the event of that advance that's needed for neighborhood family centers, they're small and they need that advance sometimes fairly soon. I think there could be a potential problem that we don't allow the CEO to sign off on that, being it meets the parameters of the 25% that the board set up, that we set up as a board as a parameter to allow her to sign it off because it went over the 50,000 threshold. For instance, if they were bringing this up this month and we weren't going to meet next month, which we don't, they would have to wait 60 days before we could have a meeting and get them signed off on getting that money they need to get their insurances renewed. That could be a problem. And I don't know if we can bring it to this meeting, if we need to maybe bring it back to the next agenda, but I think the board should consider allowing the CEO to sign off on that 25% advance, as long as it meets the threshold of what the board set in place for the neighborhood centers when they may need that advanced dollars to pay these increased costs that we're looking at, such as that insurance at $50,000. I just don't want to see one of our neighborhood centers not make that payment that they need to make. They don't have a lot of money necessarily for extended operating costs beyond what we do. So I'd like to bring that to the board's attention, and I don't know if that's something we could look at this meeting, if we need to bring it back up to another agenda.
Colleen, are you still on?
Yes, I'm on, and those numbers come from the board policies. So to Chief Milliken's point, I think it would be best if we took a look at the policies and how we could possibly amend that to provide for the circumstance that he's raising.
Perfect. So maybe we can put it on our next month's agenda for our September meeting.
Okay, that sounds like a doable plan. Okay, great, then that's what we'll do. Thank you, Chief. Any other comments? All right, Mr. Butler.
Okay. June anniversaries. Emily Garati, 1 year. Nick Benedito, 7 years. Megan Seals, 12 years. Sabi Gitticelli, 17 years. And Lindy Latour, 20 years. Thank you.
Okay, so the future meetings are listed on your agenda. Do we have any other comments or concerns? I'm sorry, yes?
I just
Laura?
want to remind the Finance Committee members that we did move the time for the next meeting up to 9 a.m., and it is so noted on your agenda.
Thank you, Laura, for reminding us about that. Okay, do I have any other comments or questions? Seeing none, meeting's adjourned. Thank you again. That was really good.
You are currently the only person in this conference.
You guys
Please
do
wait
such a
while
great
others
job.
join.
You really do a great job. I have a quick question for you I didn't want to bring up in there. Now that the fact that